it's No Ideas Original.
Welcome to the No Ideas Original Podcast featuring Shannon, Mr. Rob, and Ken. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
Good, man. Another week.
Yeah, I was got a chance to hear some of them new beats y'all working on. It seemed like y'all got some fire. Y'all ready for the next project, huh?
Yeah, we ready to go. We ready to go. Ready set up the lab too in the new crib, so he's ready to rock too.
Okay.
I think I'm ready to come out of the apprentice and get my yellow belt. I think I earned a yellow belt, son.
Okay,
nah, you in the game, man. You in the game.
What y'all been up to?
Me, honestly, what you talking about? Just making some new sounds, being creative, working on my little project here, as you can see, cracking atoms.
Okay.
Just that, man. Trying to just stay as positive as possible. Some days I have my low days, but then I come right out of it too. You know.
But in the same breath, you enjoying that weather, right?
Bro, hell no, son. I must have brought CT with me, bro. This morning it was 15 degrees this morning, bro.
Damn, but didn't the other day y'all have like 60 or 70?
Yeah, bro. It was. Listen, man, the world is bipolar at this stage, so you get what you get. It's just a blessing that you got it, I guess, bro. It's been a challenge a little bit weather-wise.
And what's up with you, Ken? What you been up to?
Oh man, listen, I had all types of stuff going on in the house. I had to replace the boiler and the furnace this week.
Say word.
Damn,
bro.
So let me tell you, on the coldest days of the year, the damn furnace go out.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, dude. It's like 43 degrees. You can see your breath in the air.
Not in the crib.
Yeah, so now, like today, basically everything's done now. But yeah, man.
Yeah, that happened to me. I remember coming home and the HVAC dude was sitting at the table. I thought he was gonna tell me something happened to a loved one. Like, yo, sit down, have a seat.
You came home and you sitting at the table, bro.
He was like, yo, have a seat. I want to have a conversation with you. It felt kind of like Chris Hansen-ish, like the captain of the joint.
What are you talking about? Hey,
he was like, have a seat. And I sat down. I was like, yo, everything all right? He was like, yeah, we looked at your furnace, and it was similar to what you said. It was like an issue, and he was like, there was a crack in something. He was like,
crack in carbon monoxide or something like that.
Whatever. He was like, we could repair it. He was like, we could repair it for like $1,500 or something, but there's no warranty or guarantee that it's gonna last or whatever. He was like, or you could replace your furnace. And I was like, okay, what is that? He was like, it's probably like 7,000 to 9,000, some crazy number. He said,
he just rattled it off like it was nothing.
Yeah, I was like, damn. I was stuck.
You got it.
Yeah.
So do they let you roll it into the bill? Because I know over here, PSE&G, if you do it through them, they let you finance it or roll it into the bill.
Nah, he wanted that bread. Yeah, he wanted that bread, and I ended up getting it. And then probably I think a few months later, like the hot water, I was like, damn, the water not getting hot. And I went and looked at the hot water heater, and there was water on the floor.
Yeah.
And he was like, it was a different dude. He came out, he was like, you got to replace your hot water heater. I was like, shit, really? And that was like a couple of grand. I replaced it or whatever. And then he came out, and it was something involving like air. It was something. I was like, nah, every time y'all come out here. No, he came out to fix something with like my sink or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, nah, every time y'all come out here, I got to buy something new. I ain't buying nothing new. You got to fix this and make this work or whatever. No, and I ended up going back and forth with like the manager, and I was like, I bought a furnace from you, a hot water heater. I didn't buy all kind of stuff from you, stuff that I never wanted to purchase in my life. This got to get fixed, whatever on y'all, whatever, And I got a service contract with them too. But nice. Yeah, that's that joint is crazy. But I'm telling you, I came home. He was sitting right there at my breakfast table, Rob.
Wifey was like, you gotta wait till the husband come home. Sit right here, sir.
Yeah, it was nuts because I was like, yo, who is this dude right here?
Hey, how you doing? He telling you about everything.
That was something different. But we got a special guest tonight joining us all the way from the West Coast. Happy to have her on, songstress ForeverxGenesis, who recently released her new project, joining us this evening. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
All is well. All is well. Wait a minute. You heard us talking about the weather. I see the sun behind you.
What's going on out there?
Well, it's sunny today for the first time in a couple of days. It's been bipolar out here.
See?
It's been like super cold, and then all of a sudden it's just like really hot.
Hold on. ForeverxGenesis.
Yeah.
What's super cold?
What's super cold in California?
Yeah.
56.
56.
Wait, is that hot over there?
You know what it was? You know what it was the other day here? 4.
Yeah.
Really?
17.
You guys don't even hit the double digits over there then.
4.
Yeah.
It was 4 in Connecticut. It was a cool 4.
56.
56. Somebody may be outside in the park barbecuing.
Yeah, at the beginning of the spring.
Wow.
Yeah, 56 was we headed to spring at 56.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's a good segue to tell us a little bit about you. Like, where were you born and raised, and how'd you find yourself getting into music?
I was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. So that's about 2 hours from Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And we are right in the center of like the north and the south border, what they call North and South California.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of get everything through Bakersfield, we get that like that E40 sound, and then we get the southern sound of California.
Yeah.
So we get the Bay Area music. We kind of get everything there. I was born and raised in California. I come from a family of musicians. I was actually just talking about this on I was on the Be Real podcast, the Dr. Green Thumb show the other day. And I was explaining to Be Real that I never thought that I would be taking, music seriously. I just thought that it was something that was in my family and everybody just did it. And, I didn't think it was going to be like a full-time thing for me. And I was a mortician for 6 years prior to taking the music seriously. So I want to say since COVID, it's been music full-time. And I've been blessed to say that music has been paying the bills since then.
That's wonderful. That's why anytime you can pay your bills with your dreams, or it sounded like it evolved into your dreams. What made you say that you would, music was in the family, but originally you really didn't have an interest in it? Like, how did that work?
I just didn't think it was like something that I would choose as a career path. I graduated early from high school. When I got out of high school early, I was on a work permit. So I was able to work as a behavioral therapist for kids with autism. So I worked at a private school. So my career path was like totally different. I had no interest in like pursuing music professionally, even though my father has in the Spanish industry. He was signed to RCA, Universal, all that big old thing. So he did that, but the band retired. Took a break for a couple years, and I remember growing up, he always told me like, unless music could pay your bills, you better go get a job. So I always thought, I always thought that if I like chose to do music, that my dad was going to be disappointed in me or something. So I just never cared for it. And so I just would do it as a hobby, and just it kind of just happened. It just
grabbed you a little bit.
It grabbed me a little bit, and it just, people started catching wind of me. Things started, going right. And I never in 1,000 years thought that I would be here where I'm at today, pursuing this as a career full time.
Nice.
Well, I tell you, man, your voice sounds great, and your music I like because it's very upbeat. But I like to ask you though, your music has an 80s and 90s vibe. I like the vibe that I'm hearing in the R&B swing with that. Where did that idea come from?
Well, I'm a huge Monica and Brandy fan, and it's obviously influenced on my album. Okay. And there is a record on my album called Loving You.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that was very heavily inspired by, I was in my room and I was sitting listening to Before You Walk Out of My Life by Monica. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, there hasn't been really a song like that in a long time. And I was like, I want to give it like the same feel. And I remember Tony A the Wizard actually produced that record back in the 90s. So that instrumental had been in his SP1200 for like 30 something years.
Wow.
I got hold of it. He's like, hey, I got some beats. Like, you want to listen to them? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Email them to me, Right. And as soon as I heard it, maybe like 5 or 10 seconds into the song, I stopped it and I said, hold on, I'll call you back.
Okay.
20 minutes later, I sent him a draft because I was sitting at my desk. I have a studio at home. So I sat at my desk. I recorded what I call vocal dummies, so I don't forget my lyrics or my melodies. I recorded it and I sent it back to him in like 20 minutes. I was like, listen to this. He calls me right back and he goes, that's it. We got to go drop that.
Nice.
So after that, I kind of just picked up momentum and I was like, okay, this is going to be kind of the direction that I want to take the album in. Because at first I was a little kind of, I wouldn't say scared, but I was kind of just like, I really don't want to, go there, because I was like, it doesn't sound like something on radio. But then I stopped myself and I was like, wait, I don't want to sound like everybody else on radio. It has to be different. And I think that's the reason, so many people are picking it up, and I've been blessed to have so many. I think I have about 8 radio stations that have picked it up and are playing my EP, and I'm very, very excited for it because I just truly feel it's kind of almost like a nostalgic sound for everybody. And there's bits and pieces, like for those who really, really know music, we'll pick up the samples, we'll pick up the melodies, we'll pick up the J-pop. You'll be able to pick up, even the drum samples and things like that. So I wanted to give it a very nostalgic feel, but also I wanted it to be very heavily influenced by some of the, genres of music that I just love.
Right. Right. You sound very much like a natural for you. He can throw some beats at you, and you 20 minutes later.
I'm like that. I make people mad because they're like, we need you to keep working. And I'm just one of those people, like, if I'm not in the mood, I'm not in the mood. I can go months without touching anything.
Right.
Okay.
But like, if I hear something or if I, feel like, something sounds right, I'll sit there and like 5-10 minutes later, like that's just my work process.
Right.
I wish it was different, but now it's
come natural. You come from a musical background with your dad and all that, so musically you got the ear for it.
But that's how art works. Like, you can't rush it. It's something that comes from you, and when you're inspired to do it, you're inspired to do it. I was watching a video where you would talk about like the home studio equipment about it, as far as like the hardware versus the DAWs and stuff. I'm being able to do work with the hardware and stuff like that and record. Does that make the process easier for you to do when you are inspired to do it?
Yeah, it actually does, because my dad actually had a music studio, so I grew up knowing everything 8-DAT and analog. Which is actually a blessing, because a lot of people I'm 29 years old, so my generation doesn't know what 8-DAT and analog or even vinyl is. Like, they're just completely lost. So thankfully I've been able to grow up using all of that. So when Logic came around, I was lost. I was like, how do you do this? Like, I didn't even know how to punch in. I was still doing one whole take at a time. Like, I was just frustrated, And after I got a little more familiarized with, Logic and the software of today, it started to become easier. And I started to implement that with everything that I knew from working workstations, because I used to do a lot of production on a Phantom X7. I used to use my dad's workstations in there. So I think this past album is an accumulation of a Phantom X7, a montage, and the new Yamaha Genos that just came out.
Okay.
So it's just like a mixture of workstations, and I think that's why it sounds different. But I also feel like that's why I am able to get like so creative with everything, is because I know more than just the basic, software.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy to hear, you have those influences. How else have, I guess, artists from the past enriched your creativity beyond, saying like, well, I was a big fan of Monica and Brandy's music? Like, is there anything else that you've taken away from them to help further advance your music?
I think watching artists in the studio, like, for example, when Michael would record the demos, I was working with a producer who used to get very upset at me and would say things like, I would send him a demo, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, that sounds like shit," and I'm like, "I know it's a demo. Like that's what it's for, so we can, we can
You
make
gotta
it better."
build upon it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "No." He would tell me like, "No, we don't. We never used to do that in the '90s. It was we did it once and it was done." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know what the fuck you guys do." Like I don't work like that, and I started to get really disappointed. So I kind of just stopped, absorbing that energy and was like, no, I need to continue with my work process because that's the way it worked for me. And then I started running into more videos of people in the studio, like Madonna recording in the studio, Amy Winehouse recording in the studio, and how everything was demos. Everything was demos until it was finalized. So watching the way they would work and the way they would lay down vocals and drop things was also like a big inspiration on my work process. I guess it made me more confident in doing what I was already doing naturally,
Yeah, I don't know if anybody, having been around people that recorded in the 90s, I've seen like different styles of people that record. I've seen people who, to do a 16-bar verse, would have God only knows how many takes that would do 2 bars and then punch another 2 and then punch. And, so I feel like maybe that's more specific to if you want to go further back and you talk about the 70s, but even that was people would rehearse with their band before they actually went to record, and that was out of necessity. So not demoing shows that you don't want to embrace technology, because literally you could demo a song with the technology we have now on your phone and have yourself down pack and be like, all right, this is just an idea to get an idea down. And then when I get to the studio, we could polish it up. Like I've been in the studio not too long ago, and I've seen like somebody like literally mumble like a few words that be like writing their rhyme as they do it, mumble a few words and then be like, don't worry about this. I'm gonna lay my actual vocals over it or whatever. So I think whatever your process is to be creative in your work, if you're working with a producer or you're working with another artist, to get the best out of a creative, you got to let them create how they create, so if somebody's listening to something for the first time that you send them and you've already told them like, this is a demo, and they like, nah, don't do a demo. Like, to me, it's like, I don't understand the logic why somebody would even push back on you around like what it takes for you to reach your full potential.
Right. And I mean, I've always worked that way because I've always second guessed a lot of the things that I've done in the past. Maybe it's because I've there's a fine line, especially being a female in the industry and trying to make some noise in an industry that is dominated by men. I feel that there is a lot of intimidation when they see like a young female coming into a studio and possibly knowing how to work the board better than they do, or possibly knowing how to edit vocals better than they do, and it's kind of like, I had a lot of people in the past, and again, I was naive and I was around the wrong circle, and I would allow them to fill my head with like a lot of doubt and I would second guess myself a lot, until I started, surrounding myself with the right people that would fill me with life and encourage me and be like, no, do this, keep doing that, keep writing. If it sucks, cool, we'll do it again. Things like that. So it's just a little, it's different, it's different trying to make noise, being a female.
Before we go to, because I know Rob got a question, I will say this also, like having some people record in the 90s versus today. So in the 90s, there were very few people who actually had home studio, like home studios. Right. You said your dad had a home studio. His home studio probably consisted of lots of equipment. Now you think people home studio may be their laptop, a really good microphone, whatever it is that they have. So back then, even with people having to pay lots of money per hour for studio times, people still weren't efficient. They still were like, all right, I needed 80 takes to get 16 bars, or I need whatever it is.
2-inch reels to make sure, they got enough tape on there,
Or that even like you said, like the fact that you're 29 years old and you know what an ADAT is, like, a lot of people don't. You're a student of the game. That's good.
That's real.
Yeah. I love to be a student in anywhere I go. Like I just love to absorb and apply things that I might not know to things that I already know. Like, for example, I've gotten to sit in the studio with K-Day Mixmaster Tony G.
Okay.
And he has been one of like the biggest blessings in the past couple months, because he sits there and he explains step by step how to work certain things, or I can call him and be like, hey, Tony, I'm having a problem with my frequencies or whatever it is. And he'll walk me through it. And he's able to explain those things to me. And it's so refreshing, because he could easily be like, I don't have to teach you, grab the baton, throw it over the gate, and not give it to somebody else, but he's willing to open his knowledge and give it to the next generation. And that makes me happy, because I love to be a student. I like to be around people who are better than me, because I like to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll never find me sitting at a table with people who I think less of. It's just not in me. I just love to learn new things, and I believe that's what's taking my knowledge in the music industry a lot further than normal.
Yeah, that's dope.
That is dope. That is dope. And being such a natural and coming from a family and writing your own songs and being in front of workstations and boards, writing or producing, which one do you enjoy most?
Right now, I'd have to say production.
Wow.
Yeah, produce. It allows me to be more creative. Initially, the EP, I was actually talking about this the other day. I initially did this EP with the intention to present it to other artists as like, hey, I want to write for you. I want to produce for you.
Nice.
And then it turned into something else.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wrote a lot of these songs with artists in mind already. Like I wanted to present it like, hey, I got this record. I want to produce for you. I want to write for you. So that's what this whole EP really was. And it just gradually turned into something else.
So you really enjoyed putting this project together for that
Yes,
purpose.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what led to the shift that made you say like, all right, instead of me presenting it to potentially other artists or record labels, I'm gonna make it my own project?
I had my ex-manager, his name is Alex Garza, DJ Alex G. He was one of the radio programs at Spin FM here in Ventura. He used to manage me for a long time, and he passed away recently during the COVID. And he was always like, you have to sing. And I'm like, dude, I don't sing. And he's like, I seen a video of you in high school singing. You need to sing. And I'm just like, all right, whatever. So we ended up, starting the project. He passes away. I didn't have the heart to ask his family for my stems. So I then later on continued the project with Tony A, Dominator, and Tony G. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to finish this the way he wanted me to finish it. I'm going to live the dream that he had for me, and we'll just see where it goes. And then slowly, as people were just like, no, you need to do this record, or this record won't sound the same if it's not you singing it, that's when I kind of finally settled, and I was like, okay, this is going to be my debut project then.
Okay.
Nice.
So question. Listen, you like the producing part, you like the writing part. How do you feel about performing and being on stage? Listen, how's that work for you? What's that process like?
I had my first show with my original work as ForeverxxGenesis, because I used to do a lot of talkbox covers of like Evelyn Champagne King, Prince, things like that. Nice. So I used to perform talkbox live. Nice. And so I was doing a lot of covers.
You got an old soul for real.
The stuff you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually have a driver that was gifted to me by the Troutman family that I was using for a while. So I got attention from a lot of people with that talk box, but I never actually got to perform original work. And I recently got to do that this past week in Bakersfield in my hometown. Nice. I think we sold out 1,600. It was at the Fox Theater, and I got to perform my original work, and it was a total game changer. It just felt so natural because it was my work. It wasn't a cover. It wasn't somebody else's song. It wasn't something that everybody knew. So it felt a lot different and felt really good.
Nice. What's your favorite Evelyn Champagne King song? I'm a Evelyn Champagne King fan.
It had to be Shame.
Shame?
Wow.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm love come down.
Yeah.
Everybody always says that one. And then when I hit them with Shame, they're like, huh?
Yeah. No, I know.
Shame
is I love you. Like Evelyn Champagne King she definitely has some.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as a producer, you know, as a producer, I'm sure you probably think about, you know, in terms of a lot with like sequencing of beats and where change ups and things like that should be. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of song structure for a writer? Because I think that there are some people who write, you know, they write songs, and then there are other people who really understand what goes into writing a song. Like people who understand, all right, you know, a bridge should be here, or, you know, maybe this, you know, a melody should be here, or this, that. Like, how did you develop that skill, and how important is it to understand song structure as a writer?
I feel that it's very important to understand your own structure of how you like to write music, because when I was writing, when I wrote these records, I was always 16/8/16.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
when I was writing these songs, the other producer I was working with was like, no, you got to do 18/8/18. And I'm like, I don't write my verses that long.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a long ass song, you know? And they're like, no, it has to be 18/8/18. And I'm like, scratching my head. And then they would send me references. And I'm like, dude, this was back when songs used to be like 4 minutes long, the extended versions, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like so intimidated until, you know, we finally met at the middle. And I said, you know what? I have to write these records the way I like to write. And I'm going to stick to 16/8/16 because that's the way I can get them out. So that isn't everybody's cup of tea. But I do believe that if you have a structure that works for you, that you should just stick to it and just not care what anybody else has to say, because that's going to be the only way your creativity gets out.
Yeah, I've heard records where I feel like I've heard R&B records where I'm like, damn, like a verse maybe 8 bars, kind of, or it'd be, you know, I'd be like, well, I guess you know how people actually sing it. You know, but I'd be like, damn, the verse is only 8 bars. But, you know, I just don't think there's a lot of emphasis placed on song structure. I think some people just, you know, they write and they don't really think about like how
they melodically put it together, and then that's
like, where the hook's gonna go, or you know, that's why it's so important for your pre-chorus. You know, it has to be similar every time, so people know, okay, I'm working to the hook right now. I'm working to the, you know, and I try to do that with all of my songs, even if I'm not singing the same lyrics. At least I'm singing the same melody, and people know where they're at. You know?
That's right.
And well, that's what I mean by understanding like song structure. Like some people don't really even think about that stuff. But one thing I can say, like the flip side of that, to me, there's an element of beauty in not knowing that. You know, we have guests on here, and I talk about it a lot with them. I think that once you become like super locked in mathematically to like how song structure should be, how a verse should be, it is that sometimes I feel like it stymies creativity, because then people get inside their head rather than just creating. Like some of the best creations I think come from not really thinking about like the application of logic around stuff, just kind of letting your ping go. And, you know, like as a hip hop enthusiast, I've heard records, you know, beats that mathematically they were off, they didn't make sense. And I've heard songs where it's just like one just completely long verse that I'll be like, you know, where's the hook coming? Like one of my favorite records is that Ghostface Killer, All That I Got Is You. And that's just like one long verse with Mary J. Blige singing at the end, you know. I don't know what that song would mean to me if he had, you know, 16 bars and then Mary J. Blige came in or whatever. It was just the nature of the record and where the record went. And to me, like some of the best music I hear comes from a place of feel rather than logic, you know. And a genius to me knows how to combine both to get both together and make it sound really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree on that.
Yeah, Rob.
I witnessed Are you making figurines? Are you making toys?
Yes, there's actually figurines.
Talk about that. I like that.
So I was introduced to this company by a good friend. His name is Compton Kirk. The company is called Co-Create. So it was Compton Kirk, Big D, and MC Magic. Their team introduced me to Co-Create, and I had the opportunity of them actually making a 3D action figure of myself that will be up for retail sale here soon. But that was super, super dope. I'm excited just to be able to put something out like that, because I know it's something that my fans have been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Now, will it have a mortician horror movie? Because I see you're a horror movie too. Like, will it have a little edge to it in your per se? I guess it
might, and only because I actually host a the first episode's going to drop soon. It's called Dark Secrets, where I talk about the dark secrets of everything. Like I talked about the dark secrets of McDonald's, of, you know, energy drinks, like just pretty much the morbid side of everything. So I also have that on the side. So it is definitely something that I've been taking into consideration to kind of make it a little spooky.
Okay.
What are the dark secrets?
I want me a collectible, man.
What are the dark secrets of McDonald's that we don't know?
Well, McDonald's, kind of just like where more of the conspiracy theories, like of, you know, how many people actually die consuming McDonald's and things like that. Or like energy drinks, when a lot of people didn't know that energy drinks were actually created because back in when the war was going on, there all of the soldiers, they were on heroin, they were on drugs. The government would give them drugs to stay up. So when they were coming home, they didn't have no more. They couldn't come down. They were giving it to their wives. Their wives were giving it to the kids. They didn't know it was, you know, it wasn't necessarily good for them. So then somewhere along the line, the company invented energy drinks to give them that same stimulation. Yeah. So then it becomes a long trailing crazy story of, you know, the darkness of the United States. And so I talk about a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. McDonald's is definitely poison.
Leave that stuff alone, man. Leave that stuff alone. Do you have? All right, you did mention your influencers is Monica and vocally.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Go ahead, Yada.
Well, I asked you. You said that, you know, your father's a musician and stuff like that. You guys able to sit down and talk about your music and come to odds and have a different perspective of what, you know, what music actually is, or how music is? Because I know it was probably very different in his time, like the process or something. You guys was able to have conversations around where, like, what the differences are and how he feels about things should be?
Yeah, we actually talk about it a lot, especially now because he's actually going into music full time again.
Nice.
My father stepped away from the music for a couple years, and he worked in the funeral industry with me. But he also, you know, he was a university graduate. He had a whole career and everything like that. Then when I stepped aside, he decided to step aside as well. So it's something that we both took on together. And it's been a blessing to be able to kind of teach my dad what I know. And we kind of piggyback off of each other. But it's crazy to hear the comparisons, like when he tells me, man, this is so easy. You could just punch in. He's like, I remember when we used to have to erase the whole floppy, throw it away.
Yeah.
You know? You know, I still got a box of floppies that were my dad's, you know. I still got 8 dads. I still got them all. And we talk about it a lot. And it's just more of like, I can't believe how much technology has advanced so quickly and how easy everything is. You can get your phone right now and, you know, just, hey, sing a melody to AI, and then it'll create a whole song with like lyrics and everything. And I'm just like, wow, that's so crazy, you know?
Yeah. Rob mentioned the figurines. How important is it now for an artist to have merch to accompany a new release?
I believe that merchandise is very important, and it's actually a lifeline. Your merchandise, 9 out of 10 times will sell more than your actual music. And I'll explain that, because once people buy your album, I mean, they listen to it, right? But people are more prone to go buy a poster, buy a t-shirt, buy sweaters, buy things like that. So I was able to actually start, because I have my own printing business with my father on the side as well. Nice. So I print all my own merch, and I've just found that without merch, you're really wasting your time. You're really not branding yourself. You're not expanding your craft to the fullest potential. You know, you're not marketing yourself correctly. Right. I just feel like it's something very, very important for an artist to have. Like, you must have something more than just music. Create a band, be a brand, you know, be a brand for yourself. I think the ultimate goal is to be like a household name, you know. My whole intention was with the specific, you know, sound in my production. I wanted people to hear that song and be like, oh, okay, Genesis did that. That's Genesis, you know. And the things I've done in the past, you know, I've been able to have that. It's a compliment, you know, to have people say that. So even with like shirts and stuff like that, like when it's my apparel, people know it's my apparel. So I believe that it's very, very important for an artist to build that. Like, you should just want to be a brand,
right?
All in one.
Have a direct connection to your consumers. I think that involves them with what you're doing, and it keeps them going, because then they be like, well, what you doing next? When's the next toy? What are you gonna do now?
Yeah.
So they're inspired.
And they always come back to support. They always come back to support. Without the fans, an artist is nothing. So that's why I always try to cater to my fans the best way they can. If they say, hey, we want to see a new shirt, I'll give them a shirt drop or whatever. I have that luxury. I understand that a lot of artists don't have that luxury, because I do digital design as well. So I'm fully well-rounded. I do pretty much everything. I pressed my own album. I designed it. I did the album cover myself. I did the production, the writing. I did everything except for the mixing and mastering, obviously, which was done by Chris the Glove Taylor and Tony G. But everything else I did on my own.
One-stop shop. You can't beat that.
Yeah. I love the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah. I mean,
you're the label owner, the artist, the manager.
You pretty much cut out all the overhead. Yeah, you cut out all the overhead. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Chris the Glove, because we had him on and we interviewed him. And one of the things that distinctively stood out to me when I listened to the project, I was like, God damn, like, yo, whoever mixed and mastered this record, I'm like, yo, this is on like the level of, and you usually don't see a lot of that from independent artists, but the quality of it, it's like every instrument, like the feel, like from the bass to the drums to whatever it is, like they did a hell of a job mixing and mastering that project. And presentation a lot of time goes a lot further than what people think. So for your next one, you may want to get with them again to have them.
No, definitely. I don't think artists understand how important it is for you to have your mixing and mastering done correctly. And that was a big thing for me when I was talking to Tony A prior to him introducing me to Tony G and Chris the Glove. I said, I need to have this done right. And then he asked me, what's your budget? I said, money's not a problem. I don't care about the money. I need to get this done right. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that this was in the hands of somebody that took pride in their craft. And that's why I selected, Chris and Tony G to be the ones to finalize this project, because I knew that it would be where it needed to be. And Tony G was very, very open and brutally honest with certain things, that I'm thankful for, and said, hey, let's do it like this, or let's change this, or check this out, if you don't like it, but we don't have to do it this way, so he really sat and took the time to make the project what it was. And I am very grateful. And I think that is one thing that a lot of independent artists need to take into consideration, that if you can't catch your consumers' ear, like the first 3 seconds of the song, like you just wasted your whole time doing an album.
Yeah.
Like, the quality's not there. It just doesn't even matter. I don't care how great the lyrics are, how great the production is. If your mix is shit, the project is shit.
Yeah. You don't want to hear. You don't want to hear.
What's some of the constructive criticism they may have given you, or what is an idea that they put in front of you that you was like, you know what? I'm going to embrace that. And then conversely, what's an idea that they may have given you that you as an artist and the creator that you are may have pushed back and be like, nah, I don't want to do that because it loses some of the integrity of what I'm trying to do with my music?
I think one of them would have to be there is a record on the EP that's called Lost in You. I originally produced that. And then I sent it over to my friend Dominator, because at that time I didn't have my workstations, and I was like, Dom, just change the sounds, bro. Like, just change it. And he's like, I got you. He already knew what I wanted. So he goes and changed the sounds, and then I dropped the vocals, then I send it over to Tony G. And then he's like, hey, I'm going to do something different with the bass. If you don't like it, it's cool, but I'm going to do something different. Just listen to it. Tell me what you think. I'm that person that, like, I don't like nobody touching my shit. Well, prior to that, like, don't touch
I got you.
So when he did it, at first I didn't like it. I went to sleep. I woke up and I listened to it again. And I said, you know what? I got to stop being stubborn. I got to open my ears, And I listened to it, and it sat well with me. And I said, you know what? This is it. I'm the problem, So I hit him back, and I was like, yo, let's do it. Let's go. We ended up sticking with the bass line that's on there now, which is it reminds me of like that Pony by Genuine, that raspy bass, that very wah, very wah, sounding bass. he added that to it when originally it was a very like Moog sounding 808, like very smooth. Like it was not punchy. That song was not as punchy as it is. If it wasn't for Tony G, it wouldn't be what it is.
Pop, yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean when you say punchy, because it does have a pop and it stands out. And what's something that you've pushed back, even maybe not even with them, that's something that you've pushed back on and was like, nah, that goes against whatever my vision is? Because I do think it's important for an artist to kind of push back at times and be like, that doesn't what it is that you want to do, even though it may be good in theory, it compromises the integrity of what I'm trying to do with my music.
There was the last song is it's called Ecstasy. Yeah, it's Ecstasy, and it's a mixture of
Never Too Much out here and
there. Never Too Much, but I also took the bongo line from Outstanding.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so originally another producer wanted to take it out because they said that shit's played out, everybody does it.
What?
And I was like, I don't care.
Feedback right there.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't care, but nobody does it like I did it, you know?
Right.
And it became a whole argument until they were like, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with the record. And I was like, okay, cool, bye.
Wow.
So it ended up being what it was. And I think that the mixture of that bass line and that bongo line was very important. And I feel like those were the seals, the stamps of authenticity for that record. Like it was what caught the people's attention. It wouldn't have been that if I would have took it out. I don't feel the record would have been the same.
So you know what's interesting about the conversation and talking to you? I think like you said earlier about people being intimidated, because you know a lot about music and you understand a lot of things, you're able to take a position on things that a lot of people would just basically lament or basically say, okay, go forward with it. And I think that again is something that makes the project better, because you understand the musicianship around it, the composition, that you know enough to say, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, I like this, I don't like this, don't like that. As far as growing and expanding yourself, do you see yourself like working towards with some expanding yourself in production, or do you even think, because you take on a lot of things, like you wear a lot of hats in this, is your next hat to become your own mixing and master and engineer?
No, I actually don't want to, because I feel like I'll do a horrible job at it.
Okay.
You know?
That's you second guessing yourself. Don't do that.
Maybe I'll do somebody else's, but I don't think I could ever sit there and do my own stuff. I think I listen to my own stuff enough to where I'm like, by the time it gets to mixing and mastering, I'm like, okay, do whatever you want. I trust you. You know,
okay.
I'm maxed out, you know, and I get to that point too, where I just get so maxed out, you know, with things where I just don't listen to them anymore. Like the Lost in You, I've had that record for 5 years.
Really?
Wow.
I've had it for 5 years. Ecstasy I had for maybe 6.
Wow.
Deja Vu I had for 5. So a lot of the new ones, I think it was only Hesitation and Loving You were the newest ones that I actually popped out like the past year. Everything else I've had for like 5-6 years.
Oh,
and all again, back to second guessing, you know?
Yeah. Wow. Just to go back to for a second, you were saying it was like, well, you know, that shit's played out. I don't see that as constructive feedback though. Because what do you do with that? Like that's just basically that's insulting, you know, your production. Like that doesn't open up an information exchange, you know, right there. When somebody hear that, they're gonna shut down. Like he didn't give you more details as to why he didn't believe it would work. Just that shit's played out. Like how do you can't grow from that? There's nothing else on the other end of that.
Yeah, no, and I feel that that kind of energy comes from it can come from a lot of different places, and sometimes it's not that the person has a bad intention. Maybe that's just the way they express themselves. But I think as an artist, we have to learn how to know the difference. We have to learn how to discern when people are being constructive or when people are truly just trying to like beat you down because they don't want to say that you thought of that before they did.
Yeah,
you know.
Your props.
You know, because I've had that too, where I've showed people my stuff, and then 3 months later, they're like, "Oh yeah, check the song I did for this artist, and it sounds a lot similar to my shit." And I'm like, "Okay, so that's how you told me it was whack." You know?
Yeah.
You can go put it out first, you know? And it
Wow.
sucks, but it's just the way it is.
Yo.
Do you have any favorites? I tell you my favorites: "Lost in Love," "Ecstasy," and "Nobody Else." I like those songs. Songs got a nice pop to them, and of course, I can hear the influence from the 80s and 90s. What are your favorite songs in this project?
Well, let me ask you, what's your least favorite?
I didn't really think about
I
it.
want
We're
to
all gonna
say,
agree on this one.
I want to say, was it "No Hesitation"? It might have been "No Hesitation."
I knew it. And let me tell you
Yeah.
why.
Why? Why? Tell me
That's
why.
my least favorite.
Oh
And
yeah.
everybody has always told me that's like the weakest joint on this EP. I don't
Oh
feel like
wow.
you wrote to your full potential. Like it's just not there. And I was just like, I
It
know because I
didn't
did.
co-mingle with the other ones a
didn't.
little bit.
Yeah.
It didn't. It did
I
not.
don't want.
So yeah,
I don't want to use the
that's my least
terminology,
favorite.
but it's filler maybe,
I don't
possibly
know.
filler.
You just threw that one in here, like I take that one, put that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that one's made for a remix. I don't know.
Well,
But
you
I
know
think-
what? Maybe that speaks to arrangement, like like how the project is arranged and with the vibe, because the other songs stand out and they're much more strong.
Yeah.
Good point.
So that could just be a matter of arrangement.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit earlier about the Rob was, like the whole direct to consumer thing came up. Like, what are your thoughts on direct to consumer now as it relates to streaming versus like the big record label machines? Like, do you see that as a pro or a con?
I mean, it just depends on the audience, I think. I feel like because if you're up close and personal with your fan base, I mean, you could sell. It's gonna stream whatever it's gonna stream,
Right.
whether you're signed to a label or not. Because
Right.
now in today's society, technology is so advanced where you don't need a distribution company, you don't need a loan from a big major label. You don't need things like that because I see them as loans now. I don't want to or even lease my album for 100,000 and then them sell more than 100,000 and then me get asked out of some money that I could have made on my own. So I think I don't know, it just depends on how much you want to push your product. I mean, I push my product out in the streets. I fill my backpack up with CDs and I'll go talk to people at the Walmart, at the swap meets. I still go do that. I'm a swap meet baby, so I still go out and do that. If I see somebody at a restaurant and I hear them listening to a certain type of music, I'll be like, hey, you like Outkast, you like this? Hey, listen to my album.
Right.
Go buy it.
Yeah.
So I still go out and talk to people. I think we just need to be accessible.
That's right.
That's all.
Be available, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Tony said having a CD is an object of collection. I agree, but to me, like the merch is where it's at. Like there's nostalgic value. Like like I don't have a record player, but I have vinyls. I don't know if I'm sure I got a CD player maybe laying around somewhere, but I have CDs. But it's the nostalgic element of actually having it, like like to have a cassette and stuff like that. Like it's just for like collectors purposes. I definitely see value in it, especially for people that are purists and want to have something of the artist. Like to me, it's comparable to having a T-shirt. And I think another thing is I saw that you were doing like signed posters, like hand signed posters and things like that, or even let's say like if there's you like, all right, I'm making only 20 CDs, and these CDs are you got number 4 of 20 kind of thing. Like it helps people feel like they're connected to the artist even more.
Yeah. Well, initially they were supposed to be scratch and sniff posters because I wanted to do the Lil Kim feel, they were supposed to be scratch and sniff posters. I was really stuck on that. They're like, why do you want to do that? And I was like, because I want scratch and sniff posters, like, here we go. And, but this EP has right now we have the physical CD, we have the posters, and we have the vinyl. But in July, I'm releasing the cassette. So cassette tapes are actually being pressed right now. Nice. So I'm gonna do the whole full-blown nostalgic thing. Like that's just something that I want to do for my fans, and they're digging it. They love it. So.
Yeah, no, that's how you grow your you grow your audience. Another thing that I know that like I've heard you talk a lot about is radio, and I feel like there was a time where it seems like, and I'm not from the West Coast, but on the East Coast, radio would make or break an artist. But now on the East Coast, radio is not as big as what it once was. Like, to be honest with you, radio now is more so about, for like talk radio, than it actually is for actual songs. Like there's probably a cool in the East Coast, well, in New York City, Connecticut, probably New Jersey, probably about a cool 15 songs in rotation that play all day during different times of the day. Do you feel like an artist still needs radio, or is that just an added bonus at this point?
I feel that a artist still needs radio for this reason, because there's a lot of concert companies that will not pick you up unless your music is on the radio. So if you want to get shows, if you want to get in the sports arenas, if you want to get in the venues, which I've had the privilege of being at, you got to be on the radio. So it's definitely important for you to be on the radio, because otherwise you're going to have to pay for play. And that's something that I've never done. And thankfully I've never had to do it. But that's something that a lot of people have to do. So I think it's definitely something that you want under your belt if you want to do the convention centers and the sports arenas and things like that. Like, or even the casinos. Even the casinos are requiring you to have a song on radio if you want to get booked.
Oh, wow.
Nice. They must look at like BDS, like your spins and stuff like that, I'm guessing.
They look at that, but more than anything, they want ticket sales. So if you're in the area, say like if you're, I don't know, LA area, and your song's very well played in the LA area, you're more likely going to get picked up for the show because they know everybody knows you in that area. So it's pretty much, how they can sell their tickets and things like that.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't think of it that way. I know. I just feel like a lot of times, like even if you look at record labels, like the whole artist and development thing is gone. The analytics now is like, how many followers you got on IG? How many, how many people on your YouTube page? And once upon a time, it was kind of like, all right, you got in the East Coast, get your record on the radio, get your spins up. Even if you were independent, you get your spins up, then a major label would come knocking and scoop you up. But now it's like they're farming around like, wait a minute, how many followers you got on IG? Don't even matter what your music is. You got 3 million followers, like that's, and now I think they're looking at that even closer because, people are buying followers or bots or whatever it is. So I think that they're looking at engagement also to see like, what is the actual engagement?
Right. It's just one big giant popularity contest. That's really what it is. It's not about talent anymore. And I think that's one of the hardest things of like trying to be out here, make a difference, trying to be different is that, I can have 10 people tell me that my project is dope. But if I'm sitting in a room with executives who are already getting ready to sign a check and my numbers don't match, I'm not going to get the deal.
Yeah.
So it's just one big giant popularity contest. And that's why I go back to where I feel that it's important as an artist for you to be accessible to your fans. So that way you don't need things like that. You don't need a record label to come and sell your music. You sell your music yourself and you keep 100% of it.
Right. Nice. Yeah.
Can you talk about, because I think a lot of people, we're talking about the importance of being on radio or how can you talk about the process? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that getting on a radio station, the process of being in a rotation or not being in a rotation, like there's a lot involved in that process. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely different than what it was in the 90s. Back in the 90s, you'd have to get companies like, for example, a good friend of mine, his name is Todd Surtees Welch. He was the owner of Jam City's promotions. So the record labels would pay people like them to put them on, to put artists on radio, things like that, or break people on the radio. Nowadays, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Gotcha. So if you have a really dope connection with a radio DJ who has like a mix show on Sunday night, he's the guy that you want to hit up like, hey, can you play my song? And then if people start liking it, people will start calling, and that's kind of the way you get into radio nowadays. Like, unless you got 30 G's to drop on a project, which nobody does, that's really the way to get into radio now is by, these connections that you make with radio DJs or even people, PRs or people at the stations, and thankfully I've had very, very good friendships with a lot of people who have put in a lot of effort into this project, and they truly, truly believe in it. And I am beyond thankful for all of the opportunity that they're giving to me right now.
God bless you, because you got a great project. Are you working on anything else? You working on the next one?
Yeah, I actually have the second one already done. I'm holding on to it. I want to work this record for about a year until I release anything else new. I believe it's important. I believe in quality over quantity.
There you go.
So I want to work this record as much as I can and then just slowly start splurging, the next project. But the second project is pretty much already done. I'm working on 3 until I hit one of those blockages where I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear music today, you know.
Are you considering shooting any videos for any of the tracks?
Yeah, I actually just shot a music video to Lost in You last week. So we will be dropping that here soon. Yeah, but there will be one music video for each song on this EP. We'll just be dropping them periodically, you know, after a couple months, every couple months until I feel that I've worked this record to its fullest potential.
Nice.
Now, was it strategic? I noticed that the project is under 20 minutes. Was it done strategically to be under 20 minutes?
I wanted it to be very clear and straight to the point.
Okay.
I wanted it to be straight to the point, but I also wanted to kind of leave people wanting more. And I feel like it's really done that, because it's just kind of like, okay, I want, like, where's the next song? Oh shit, you only have 6 songs? So it was on purpose.
Yeah, it definitely piqued the interest and wants you to, it gravitates like, that's it? I want some more. So
yeah. And I appreciate that, because I feel like sometimes there are artists that, you know, that I like, and they make a album, and the album got 20 records on it. I'm like, the attention span to get through 20 songs is kind of like, and I feel like sometimes it stymies people from having like a classic project. Like, you know, like even if you look at a guy in hip hop like Drake will make an album, it got 20 records on it. He'll have like 10 singles. And to me, it's like 10 good records that's a good project. Like, why didn't we get 12 songs? It's like, I don't know if you just like people empty out their hard drive and be like, yeah, this is everything I made, put this on there kind of thing.
I had somebody give me a 30-track CD one time, and I was like, I'm not gonna listen to this shit. They're like, no, this is just like one song. And I was like, look, I'll spin it in circles, and whatever song falls on, I'll listen to that one. You know?
Yeah, it's too much for people to consume to be able to listen to that. I'm like, nah, I can't get through that. Like, there's still people albums that I still haven't even gotten through because there's just too many records. Like, even like some of Chris Brown's music, Chris Brown to make an album, and the God only knows how many songs on it. You'd be like, you know, you'd be like track 14. You'd be like, all right, the album got to be about to end. You look, he got 17 more records. You could probably ride all up and down California listening to his project. How were you able to get your music license to be used on Netflix and in movies? And I think at the World Series, right? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, that was done through a good friend of mine. His name is Kenny. He is the CEO of For the Win Music. I was introduced to him by my manager who passed away, Alex G. And I started working with Kenny back in 2015. And again, it goes back to the singing, where my manager's like, you got to do singing stuff in Spanish. And I'm like, ugh. Like, that was the first time that I tried it. And me and Kenny would go back on the phone, and he really pushed me to be like, hey, you know, sing on these records. Like, it sounds dope, you know? So a lot of people don't know that I have probably about like a whole Spanish album with For the Win Music that has all have placements, and it's all in Spanish. You know? So, I did that through For the Win Music, and I've been working with him since 2015, and thankfully every single song that I've done with him has been picked up on. I think we did Craft Legacy, Rambo Last Blood, Walking with the Devil with Nicolas Cage, Fox, Dodgers, MLB, just like anything you can think of, it's been placed on, and I'm really excited for that, because it's just Spanish, you know, like it's not English, just the straight Spanish records. So it's something that I don't even talk about or even promote. Honestly,
what's it like though to turn on Netflix and you know, turn on one of those movies and you watching and be like, yeah, that's my song right there. Or like if you have children, be like, that's your mom's song right there.
You know, it's funny. My son, I was watching Rambo Last Blood, and I probably shouldn't have been watching it with him, but we were watching it, and the song comes on, and he goes, "Mom, is that you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, that's you, Mom." And he was just like, listen, he was looking at the TV real hard, like trying to see where I'm gonna come out. You know? The fact that he picked up on it was, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's good," you know.
Now,
I gotta ask you. I'm sorry, I gotta ask you. Did you figure out what episode of Baddies your song was in Caribbean Baddies?
No, I still haven't.
You still haven't?
No, it's still a mystery. I just found out where my song is being used as a theme song for a news, like a morning show in Colombia.
Wow.
It's called Dia Dia, and it had been a mystery for like 3 years, and we just barely found out where it's coming from. So yeah, I think it'll probably be another 3 years till we find out what episode of Baddies it'll be on.
Are you getting a royalty statement for it? That's what's the
Yeah.
most important part.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that you're getting. So that's good. That means that, you know, because that's another thing. I think, like, you know, like we've put out so far 2 independent projects, you know, for our podcast, like compilations. And one of the things that always seems to amaze me is that, you know, we work with people that are just, they're wonderful creators. Like they can create, they could rap their ass off, they could sing, whatever it is. But when you get down to like the actual nuts and bolts, the business element of it, a lot of them are so stuck in creative mode that, you know, they may not have like their publishing stuff in place also. And the thing about it is, I think like we're in an era with music where streams are not going to pay the bills. Like, you know, I seen something before. Snoop Dogg was like, he got a check for 50,000 and stream millions a time or whatever, billions of time or whatever. So streaming is not going to pay the bills. So, you know, to me, it's about like, how do you eat in perpetuity, you know, and like actual ownership of your records and being able to license your records and making sure that you have your publishing correct and you have writers, you know, your writers credit and things like that. And I think that goes over people's heads. So to me, it seems like that you're well-rounded in all aspects. Like, you know, you could write, you could produce, you know, maybe one day you'll mix and engineer, but you also have the business know-how in the back of your head, like the element that shows people to actually be able to monetize their craft. Like, you know, because I feel like sometimes what happens is creators get taken advantage of by other people who can monetize their art and know how to monetize their art because they're so caught up in creating. So I'm happy to hear that you know, you also have created a space where you like, yeah, I'm gonna be over here, you know, on my keyboard and at my workstation and I'm gonna be singing and writing, but I'm also gonna be figuring out like, how do I make sure that Genesis at the end of the day is compensated for her craft?
Yeah, it's also surrounding yourself with good people. You know, I've been I've known the dark side of the industry, and I've also known the good side of where there's, you know, the good people who actually want you to exceed and do well. And it's surrounding yourself with people who want the best intention for you, you know, because it's easy money for a lot of people who are not talented. You know, and if you ain't got the money, you know, to go countersue this person, then you know what, you just lost out on all your royalties for life. There ain't nothing you can do about it. You know, I learned the hard way on that. And thankfully I've had, you know, a group of mentors who really, really look out for me when it comes to things like that. And have taught me things, you know, and one thing that really stuck to me before my manager passed away, I used to get really mad at him. And I used to say like, why are you making me do everything myself? Like, aren't you supposed to be my manager?
That's froze.
Could pop back in. Maybe she got a phone call or something.
Yeah, froze up for a second. But yes, you know, it's I think it's good to be that well-rounded and to understand all these different elements as it relates to the actual music part. You know, like some people get so stuck in being able to create, and they like, you know what, I'm just the artistry, the artist element of it drives them. That you turn around and you look and you be like, man, like I did all this great music, but I don't own any of it.
She's surrounded by some wise minds too. Her father being one, and then the host of other producers and such to keep her sharp. And then she's a student of the game too, so she wants to be coached and not told what to do, but, you know, kind of coached in what to do right and what not to do.
Well, you can't really pull too much over on her because she understands the business aspect, she understands the music aspect. So one of the things, like she did mention how when she gets involved, she tries to associate herself with people that, you know, are better than her, that she can progress and move forward. Because she's at a certain level, the people that she has to deal with have to be at a much higher level. They have to be more professional than what she is. And I'm sure that helps too. If you start off on the bottom and you're baseline, anybody that you encounter could technically be better than you are.
Yeah. I mean, it broke my heart. I don't know if you guys have been following like the Jim Jones and Cameron stuff, and Jim Jones was kind of talking about like his situation, and it broke my heart to hear Jim Jones saying that he didn't own like the publishing or I think like his masters for like some of his biggest records, you know. And from the outside looking at it, we all figured that he was on Koch and that it was, you know, Koch was an independent situation that he would make a lot of money off of. You know, but I think he said now he's in a position where he's fighting, trying to get like his masters back. So he probably made tons of money actually performing the record. But balling. Imagine being able to license that record. Like you hear balling on all kind of commercials.
Yeah, people
video games.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, they made money off of that.
Did he try to tap back in?
No, I reached out to her, but yeah, no. So I don't know. I love to hear when artists kind of have their foot in everything. Like for her to say, like, all right, I write, I produce, I do my own merch, and I have all these ideas and everything, and then also be able to say, like, I'm open to guidance, but knowing when to push back also to me is a key part. And we always go through that, like when we go to mixing and stuff like that. And we having these conversations with people, and I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm viewed as probably being a person that's complicated, but also I'm like, when these songs are created, we listen to these songs over and over so many different times. I'm listening to them, I'm like, I have a vision for how this is supposed to sound,
right?
And
stick to it.
I want to hear my vision actualized. Like if you got a good idea, I'll listen to the idea, but if the idea moves it away from what my vision was, and doesn't enhance it, then it's like, why am I going along with that? Because it's easier for you,
right? Right. You don't want to put the extra work in. What that sound like?
Oh man,
taking no shots at nobody.
I don't think Genesis is gonna tap back in with us. It looks like maybe something may have happened to our signal, but I want to thank Genesis for pulling up tonight and having this conversation. If you guys haven't already, follow her on Instagram. It's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. It's ForeverxGenesis. Give her new project a stream. Listen to it. You'll find a link in her bio for her merch. She also has like really good merch. So make sure you check her out. Any closing words from you guys?
Nah, man, just be creative, guys. If you got something that you're doing, don't be afraid, to take risks. The biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. Yeah, be creative now, man. We're in a space where you should focus more on yourself. There's so many distractions out in the world that can just pull you in different directions, and you're not focused on yourself and what you got going on. So take this time to do some reflecting, and man, put your best foot forward. Something might pop out of that.
Yeah, Ken.
For me, just thinking about who we interviewed tonight, what we seen was a person that was fully focused and completely motivated to get something done, that wore every possible hat they could to contribute and better themselves. So the amount of effort and time you put into bettering yourself, doing things that you love, the things that you creatives and stuff like that, it will reward you. I mean, she's living proof that she drives her own car. She comes up with her own ideas. She has her own vision, and she sees it through the completion. So that's important to understand that we should all try to move the needle for ourselves. As much as we think that we can do things a certain way, once you get focused and you get on the point, you start to see results and things will happen.
That's right. Nice. I have a great support system too. She got a great support system.
Yeah.
Nice. And I'll say this, like I definitely appreciate her entrepreneurial spirit. Aside from her, this is the first time, for those that watch, this is the first time in a while that we've actually had a guest on, because we have been having like our own little powwows, but if you're new to us, make sure you like and subscribe and go back and look in our catalog. We've had an opportunity to interview a lot of people, some new and upcoming artists, as well as older artists that may have been more established. So make sure you give us a look. Also, if you're not following us on IG, is at No Ideas, or it's at NOID or Ridge. And you can also check out our merch as well. We have some wonderful merch on there that's available. Support our project. We have two projects. We have the curation and we have nostalgia. You'll see some of the merch I got on a t-shirt. Rob got on a t-shirt and hat. King got on a trucker hat. All the stuff is available for purchase. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Peace, everybody.
Peace.